Hey guys, Bwana here with another video. We're going to react to this video called "You Won't Believe How ChatGPT AI Has Changed Skyrim Forever." I haven't been covering much AI stuff, but it's getting much bigger, especially since Google announced that they're going to be including like Google everything. So let's watch.
Somebody has added ChatGPT AI into Skyrim, but they've gone much further than that because they've actually combined it with other AI software in order to enable you, the player, to actually speak to NPCs in Skyrim using your own voice, and consequentially have an immersive conversation in the game with all the characters you know and love from Skyrim. Let me show you guys an example here with Lydia, and then we'll go over how this actually works and what this may mean for the future of roleplay games. Like,
I do remember, I don't have much memory of Skyrim, but I do remember Lydia. Just so you guys know, the standard disclaimer, I never finished Skyrim. I don't think I've ever finished any Bethesda game. Nope. Pretty sure I haven't. But I did do a lot of modding and some wacky stuff in it.
The Elder Scrolls 6 or Fallout 5.
Did you learn to horse ride in Whiterun?
Let me think. My training in horse riding began long before I became a housecarl. I hail from a family of nomards who were skilled with horses, and I learned much of what I know from my father. However, in my time serving as a housecarl for the Jarl of Whiterun, I have had much opportunity to ride and care for horses.
It's very robot-y. That's immersion breaking right there. You know, just right off the bat, that's immersion breaking, because you know you used to certain games having voice actors, and until they get that more natural sounding, it's going to be immersion breaking. But the thing is that there are a lot of voices and AI voices out there that do sound a lot more natural sounding than that. But I think that's going to be the biggest challenge initially, is just getting the voices to sound believable.
Horses, and my skills in this have only improved as a result.
So you're probably wondering how this Skyrim mod actually works. Well, the creator, Art from the Machine, has written a script that combines 3 different AI softwares together. So for this example, let's pretend that we ask an innkeeper about rumors. Firstly, we have Whisper AI, which is a speech-to-text AI that translates what you say verbally into text. That text is then sent to the second AI software, ChatGPT, which is an AI chatbot that can be fed information about the NPC it's going to be role-playing as. So depending who it's role-playing as, it can give you the appropriate response. The text response that it gives you is then sent to another AI called XBA Synth, which is pre-trained on the character's voice lines that exist in the game of Skyrim to enable it to sound like any character you're talking to in the game. And here's that result of asking the innkeeper about rumors.
I hear a lot of interesting stories from the people passing through. It's a good way to stay connected to what's happening in the world outside of Whiterun.
So this combination of AI basically allows you to talk to any NPC in Skyrim, ask them any question you want, and they'll respond in character. But now, let's take a look at how well this actually works.
Yeah.
So were you ever told campfire stories?
Let me think.
Just having a very deep think about that.
Yes, my family and I used to tell campfires.
So her lips are moving. I thought when they played it earlier that it was actually happening there, but it's actually right here. Okay, this is a little bit better. This is a little bit better because her lips are actually moving with the audio, but it still sounds robotic.
Stories during our hunting trips. We would share tales of great Nordic heroes and legendary creatures such as trolls and draugr. I remember once my father told us a story about a warrior who battled a powerful dragon and emerged victorious. It was a thrilling and inspirational tale that instilled courage in me and my siblings.
My father's story instilled courage within me and my siblings. There's just something so philosophical about the way ChatGPT currently speaks.
As a housecarl, my identity is closely tied to my duties and my role as a protector and servant.
So I wonder what you got to install to get this going. I wonder if you got to install any kind of software that does the plugin do all of that, because I have no clue how this works technically.
However, I do have my own thoughts, feelings, and desires, and I strive to maintain a sense of balance between my duty and my inner self. It can be a challenge at times, particularly when my emotions conflict with my duties or when I am faced with difficult decisions.
Confirmed, Lydia is in love with us. That or she's talking about all the people we've robbed, slaughtered, or sacrificed over the years traveling with her. Could you imagine if someone made a ChatGPT based Skyrim follower that you could just play the game with? They would remember the conversations and journeys and experiences you had with them. So it would just be like actually traveling around Skyrim with a friend. I feel like you would actually form a meaningful relationship with them. So in this
No, I wouldn't. No.
new updated version of this mod from Art of the Machine, he's actually added in lip syncing. So the character and NPCs you're talking to are actually going to react and engage in that conversation. Conversations are started by using a spell. Oh, okay. Starting conversation with Skolvar.
Greetings,
So that's how they initiate it.
traveler. How are you on this fine day?
Okay.
Yes, we'll be open for a few more hours. War Maidens is typically open from 8 am until 8 pm. Is there something
8 AM to 8 pm. You might want to put some spaces between AM and PM in the text to speech. I don't know how much control they have over what it spits out, though.
you need?
So he
What
knows the
time is it
of
now?
day.
Let me think.
You got to think about the time.
The thinking time currently is obviously holding this back for gameplay purposes. As this technology progresses and these different AI software can talk to each other more fluidly, this time is only going to get shorter. I mean, think back to how long it took to download a JPEG file from an email
Not comparable.
like 20 years ago compared to now where you can stream an entire
No.
movie online.
It's
comparable.
approximately 5 pm. Is there anything I can help you with?
Iron Sword of Souls.
What do you think of this?
Wait,
Let me
this,
think.
I don't know if this is happening locally or on the server. Like, I don't know if the processing is happening locally on the server. I guess that would answer that question. Because with Google's Bard, I've seen, like, I've never used ChatGPT ever, guys. I've never used it. But I have seen the speed of Google Bard, and it's sub-second. It's really, really fast. So maybe ChatGPT has, it takes a long time for some of this stuff to go off. I have seen some tweets of people doing stuff like, hey, I'm going to create an app on the App Store using ChatGPT, and they spit out code pretty fast. I don't know if they sped that up or what, but I don't know if this runs on the server. Maybe you guys can answer me in the comments. Does this run like locally on your computer with the game, which can slow things down, or is it making queries to some sort of a cloud service, which I suspect is the case? And having done some performance testing on services, cloud services in particular, they can get bogged down. So this could be a performance bottleneck on their end.
Let me take a closer look at that sword. It seems to be a well-crafted iron sword with a soul gem embedded in the hilt.
how did you know
The
that?
enchantment on it allows the wielder to capture the souls of their enemies. I was just taking a
Damn,
break.
so he actually explains the enchantment to you? The fact that they can interact with the environment of Skyrim like that and comment on things you're doing in the game and explain things when you ask them about it is really intriguing to me.
Honestly, I'm more distracted by the voice. Like, what he's doing is cool and everything, but the robot is just throwing the immersion completely away. I'm going to look at your sword. Your sword has this. It's 8 p.m. So it's like, it throws it off.
I was just taking a break from the shop and decided to come here to relax for a bit. The Bannered Mare is always a great place.
Monotone man speaks to you. Just that little tidbit right there. That small piece is probably what's going to make or break stuff like this in games.
To unwind after a long day.
Doesn't he have a wife?
There's a space sim out there. I think it's called Spaceborne 2. And Spaceborne 2. And it has a lot of this. Like, when you talk to people in Spaceborne 2, you can tell a lot of the stuff is like text to speech, and I don't know if it's AI generated, but it's text to speech. So when you talk to some of the NPCs in Spaceborne 2, it's an excellent game, by the way. It's really good. But that it definitely breaks the immersion to the point to where I don't even want to talk to NPCs in that game. I think it's a similar situation here, is that you're just gonna destroy the immersion.
Call me Dragonborn.
Let me think. Forgive me, Dragonborn. It's
Let me
not
think.
every day that I meet someone of your caliber.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
So they actually remember who you are and if you've previously met them.
Greetings, Dragonborn. Is there something I can help you with today?
So in theory, you could build up a relationship, like a real relationship with some of the NPCs in Skyrim.
Not
How
a
cool would it
real
be if you could like
relation-
persuade them to
that's-
give you a discount?
One time, this drunk patron stumbled into the inn and started reciting poetry. It was so bad.
I mean, let's be real. Games have already done this, where your progression, a typical well-written AR or not ARPG, but an action or role-playing game, your progression can affect your choices, and the choices you make can affect future choices. So, in essence, you know, games that have multiple progression paths based on what you choose have kind of already done this. But these are like little specific knickknacks and details that make the relationship a little bit more dynamic, if you will. So if you go in here and you're rude to somebody or something, maybe they'll respond with something rude back instead of being nice. Little things like that. But the idea of like them remembering your progression from a certain perspective is not entirely new.
That even the chickens outside were clucking in protest.
As an apothecary, I don't have...
I mean, some of the voice to speech, you can hear it struggling because it's limited on what it's learnt from the character's dialogue. But in terms of the voice actually sounding like the character or the NPC it's trying to portray, it absolutely nails it. It does sound like it, even though it's a little bit roboticized. These are all things that are going to improve in time. This is
I agree with that. I'm glad he pointed that it is roboticized, because yeah, I can hear different accents with different people, but it sounds like this, sounds like they are a robot, they are a text to speech talking, and you know, that's what it sounds like.
just the start of what we have available to us. And it's been applied to a game that's over a decade old, and it still works pretty damn well, pretty convincingly well.
Certainly, she is known for her.
Overall, I'm not impressed. I mean, I guess you could say I can appreciate that there's a hook between a video game and some cloud services. That's cool. So now you can hook in these cloud AI services to the Skyrim game via the modding. That mechanism is cool because that opens up doors to a lot of other things. But this particular thing, I am not super impressed with what I'm hearing and seeing, mainly because it's very early. Like you said, it is going to be improved over time. And I think that's a good point to point out, is that this is obviously an early iteration of this, and it can get better. I think the fact that we have the avenue to do this is probably the breakthrough, but the implementation definitely is rough.
Her compassion for all living things and her desire to preserve the natural balance of the world.
If you're after plants, the plains around Whiterun are a good place to start. You can find alchemical ingredients like lavender, hanging moss, and tundra cotton growing.
Asking someone like Ysilda where to find certain ingredients and her actually telling you local knowledge about the area, which actually helps out in the gameplay.
I can share some of the basic principles of combat that are essential for any warrior to master.
Okay.
Keep your knees bent and slightly flexed to help absorb impacts and allow for quick movements.
I will do that. My right ear.
Avoid
Please turn.
standing still for too long, as this makes
Please
you an
turn.
easier target. Move around and use your footwork to keep your opponent off balance.
Okay, I will do that.
It would be even cooler if the NPCs would actually give you like Skyrim gameplay advice, like, have you tried the enchanting alchemy loop?
When we look at the world through the lens of interconnectedness, we begin to see that our well-being is intertwined with the well-being of all living things. Just as a single drop of water can create a ripple that spreads throughout the whole pond, so too can our choices and actions affect the world around us. We can learn to honor and respect this interconnectedness.
Captain, they've adapted. They've adapted.
This is the thing that makes ChatGPT just not sound human.
Some might argue that we are products of genetics, environment, and conditioning, and that our lives and choices are predetermined to a certain extent. Others might argue that we have a degree of free will and the power to shape our own destinies. Ultimately, though, such philosophical inquiries do not have a concrete answer and are better left to those who have the time and energy to ponder them. As for me, I'll stick to what I know best, forging weapons and armor.
Wow. If that ain't an AI-generated answer, I don't know what is.
This is just ridiculous. Obviously, we need to give it certain limitations when it's role-playing characters like a blacksmith. That you just wouldn't have a blacksmith having a deep philosophical conversation with you. That's the problem. This is the kind of conversation that makes you realize you're talking to an AI.
That's going to come with dynamic scripting, you're going to have situations like that, because unless you can train ChatGPT to always go, okay, the blacksmith will never be philosophical, or this guy will be philosophical. It's going to be all these little edge cases and stuff to where you're going to be constantly tweaking this and constantly tuning this to be restrictive for certain characters. It sounds like a lot of work. I'm not saying it's impossible. It just sounds like a lot of work.
For to live a more peaceful life, appreciate music, and soak up the beauty of our land.
Sometimes
wow,
it's easy to
that's
get
cool.
caught up in the hustle and bustle of Skyrim and forget to appreciate the little things in life.
Getting smashed.
It was a pleasure speaking with you. May the journey ahead bring you much joy and discovery.
These conversations sound way more realistic to me.
It was good talking to you as well, friend. Don't hesitate to stop by War Maidens if you ever need anything.
Oh, it's so cool.
Have a good night.
He knows it's nighttime. I don't know when Art from the Machines mod is actually going to be coming out, but so far what I've seen from it has blown me away, that he's made this integration into a 10-year-old game, and this will just simply transform how you would play Skyrim and how you would be immersed in the world of Skyrim and just sitting there in pubs and chatting to different NPCs. But if you want to see how AI and ChatGPT can actually change how you solve questions,
I don't know. I'll put the link in the show description of this, but it overall, like I said, the voice, AI voice was off-putting. It was very robotic, immersion ruined, pretty much. And the mechanism that he's able to integrate these into the game is probably the most impressive thing. And I can see that he's going to have to tweak and tune some of the finer parameters, like don't have a philosophical bartender or blacksmith, whoever she was. Don't have a break into deep philosophies about life and preferences and stuff. Just like, I mean, you could probably do that in some cases, but it kind of went off the rails a little bit on a couple of parts, but very interesting. Check it out. I'll put the link in the show description. You guys can check it out over there. And speaking of awesome, thank you so much for these awesome patrons. Check them out at patreon.com/Bwana. Thank you so much for supporting me and being so great. These individuals come out of their pocket and help me out to create this content and more on my live stream here, my 3D printing endeavors, and everywhere across the web. So thank you so much for your support, patrons. Awesome group of individuals. They get a custom role on my Discord at discord.gg/Bwana. Certain tiers have access to a coffee mug, and we get a weekly newsletter of what I'm doing and what's going on and like the state of my content creation. You can get behind the scenes of what's going on. So thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Bwana. Thank you guys.